So, welcome to this meeting of the Joint Waste Collection Services Committee. First of all, item number 1, apologies for absence. I think we said we haven't had any.
Thank you, Chair. We've got Councillor Leanne McIntyre is subbing for Councillor Morgan Rise today. No other apologies.
Right, okay, thank you very much. Item number 2 was minutes of the previous meeting. There were no specific actions from the minutes of the previous meeting, but there were obviously important comments made. But I think where we stand with things like the service update will obviously cover afresh in this morning's meeting. So I don't think we need to go back over any items from the last minutes, unless anybody else has any specific questions or points to make on those minutes. No, if not, we'll accept those as a true and accurate record of the meeting. Item number 3, declarations of interest. Members are asked to declare any disclosable pecuniary interest in respect of any matters to be considered at this meeting. Do any councillors here have any declarations of interest? No. Okay, thank you very much. Right, so we'll go straight on then to the quarterly performance report. So these are pages 7 to 20 in the document pack. And Nick, are you going to take the lead on that?
Yes, good morning, Councillor Tilling. Yes, that's going to be myself this morning. So I'm just going to share with you the slide pack that I prepared for the item. Just bear with me a moment whilst I do that. Hey, hopefully you can see the presentation okay. If you could confirm, Councillor Tilling, that would be...
Yes, that's fine. I've got that.
Fantastic. Okay, so so as I said, there's a paper in the agenda pack which gives an update on recycling, residual waste and operational performance for Q1 of 25-26 under the Joint Waste Collection contract. So I've just got several slides for you today which sort of summarises the position. So before reviewing sort of joint contract authority performance, it's important to sort of highlight the sort of wider Surrey curbside trends. This slide compares recycling and residual waste tonnages in Surrey and for the joint contract authorities for Q1 of 25-26 against Q1 of 24-25. So looking at the first row in the table, dry mix recycling, so increases were seen in Elmbridge, Mole Valley and Surrey Heath, while Woking declined, which is consistent with the Surrey-wide average. Food waste, Surrey overall saw a slight decrease. Elmbridge, Mole Valley and Surrey Heath had larger reductions, but Woking recorded a small rise. On to garden waste, substantial reductions, as you can see there, across all areas, with Surrey overall at a decrease of 21.4%. Elmbridge's drop was smaller, while Mole Valley, Surrey Heath and Woking all fell by around 20% or more. Residual waste overall, tonnages decreased by 3.7% across Surrey. Elmbridge and Mole Valley, as you can see there, had stronger reductions, but both Surrey Heath and Woking recorded increases. So now looking at the tonnages across the 4 streams for the quarter comparison. So DMR rose in Elmbridge by 28 tonnes, Mole Valley by 51 tonnes and Surrey Heath by 50 tonnes, while Woking saw a slight decline of 23 tonnes. Onto food waste tonnages, they fell in Elmbridge by 56 tonnes, in Mole Valley by 17 tonnes and Surrey Heath by 42 tonnes, while Woking saw a slight increase of 16 tonnes. Moving to garden waste, as I said, garden waste fell across all 4 joint contract authorities, with Elmbridge down by 520 tonnes, Mole Valley by 610 tonnes, Surrey Heath by 422 tonnes, and Woking by 481 tonnes. Residual waste showed a mixed picture. Elmbridge and Mole Valley saw declines of 452 and 228 tonnes respectively, while Surrey Heath and Woking experienced modest increases of 67 and 70 tonnes respectively. Okay, so this slide now compares recycling and residual waste tonnages in Surrey and the Joint Contract Authority, looking at the 12 months to June 2025 versus the same period ending June 2024, so a bigger comparison period. So starting off with DMR, tonnes decreased in Elmbridge, Mole Valley and Surrey Heath following the Surrey-wide trend, while Woking saw a larger decline. Food waste results were mixed. Surrey Heath saw a very slight drop, 0.1%. Mole Valley and Surrey Heath recorded larger reductions, whereas Elmbridge and Woking saw increases. Garden waste, again, there were substantial reductions across all areas, with Surrey overall down by 9.1%. Elmbridge, Mole Valley and Woking followed this trend. And just to sort of note for the minutes, we're querying Surrey Heath's January 2025 garden waste tonnages with Surrey County Council and Suez, as we believe the reported figures to be incorrect. So the decline should likely be more in line with the other joint contract authorities. Residual waste results were mixed. Surrey overall saw a slight decrease of 0.3%, with Elmbridge dropping more sharply at 2.3%. In contrast, Mole Valley, Surrey Heath and Woking all reported increases. So now looking at the tonnages across the 4 streams for the 12-month period, dry mix recycling saw a slight sort of decrease in Mole Valley and Surrey Heath, down by 24 and 30 tonnes respectively, while Elmbridge and Woking experienced larger drops of 167 and 256 tonnes respectively. Food waste rose in Elmbridge and Woking, increasing by 28 and 51 tonnes respectively, while Mole Valley and Surrey Heath saw decreases of 70 and 71 tonnes. Elmbridge, Mole Valley and Woking all saw significant drops in garden waste, down by 1,092 tonnes, 744 and 825 tonnes respectively, while this graphic shows that Surrey Heath experienced a smaller decline of 71 tonnages, but as I said before, we believe this to be incorrect, and we'll follow up with the correct figure once we've concluded our investigations with Surrey County Council and Suez. Elmbridge experienced a drop in residual waste, with tonnages falling by 498 tonnes, while Mole Valley, Surrey Heath and Woking all saw increases of 269, 231 and 264 tonnes respectively. Now looking at recycling rates, so as of the latest quarter, Surrey Heath had the highest recycling rate at 57.9%, followed by Mole Valley at 56%, Woking at 55.8%, and Elmbridge at 55.1%. So all 4 sit above the Surrey-wide average of 55.1. Sorry, I said 55.1 for Elmbridge. That's incorrect. 55.3. So yeah, all 4 above the 55.1. So looking at the same quarter last year, only Elmbridge avoided a decline, as you can see, a 0.5% increase there. Looking at the 12 months to June 2025, Surrey Heath again have the highest rates at 58.3%, although that will drop a little bit due to the possible issue with garden waste tonnages in January 2025 that we're investigating. With Mole Valley, that was at 55.1%, Elmbridge at 53.8% and Woking at 53.6%. So each again remains above the Surrey-wide rate of 53.2%, though all 4 have dipped compared with the previous 12 months. Now on to the contract's KPI performance for this quarter compared to the last quarter. In Elmbridge, performance was a bit mixed this quarter. On the positive side, repeats, missed collections and assisted collections have improved, and street cleaning and fly tipping issues were down, and the litter target was met. but we did see a sharp spike in unrectified miscollections KPI 3 in April and May, and detritus levels continue to be above the target, so that's an area to keep an eye on. Mole Valley has turned a bit of a corner. Miscollections are down across the board, including a huge improvement on unrectified and repeat miscollections. Street cleaning, fly tipping and litter performance also improved. That said, detritus remains an issue. It's worsened compared to the last quarter and still above the target, so that remains a problem to tackle. Surrey Heath continues to be one of the strongest performers. There were no unrectified miscollections, no spillage, no SLA breaches, and very few repeat issues. Street cleaning and fly tipping were almost fault-free. Litter performance also improved and well inside the 4% target. The one note of caution is detritus, although still within the target, it slipped compared to last quarter. And then finally, in Woking, performance has stayed pretty steady. Miscollections remain low. There was no repeat missed assisted collections at all this quarter, which is great. On the downside, there were a few spillages reported in June and some ongoing failures with non-assisted collections, though they are improving. Overall, a solid and stable quarter for Woking. So that's all the slides that I've got for you today. I'm happy to take any questions that the committee have. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Nick. It's interesting that across the board, the garden waste collections have significantly reduced, comparing quarters and comparing annually. Is there any particular reason why you think that might be?
I mean, yeah, so I've looked to see if there's been any sort of displacement. So if any of the garden waste tonnages from curbside have gone to the recycling centres, that hasn't happened because recycling centres have also experienced a decline. It could be likely with this probably seasonal, so we might have had a much drier start to the year in comparison to the sort of previous year. I guess also some councils I've seen out in sort of wider sort of network reporting that maybe cost of living increases are having an impact. For example, people not doing as much gardening work, that could be a thing as well. So that's what I would probably say to that. Probably a bit of seasonal, bit of people doing less things perhaps, but that's haven't got any actual evidence to sort of back that up with. But it is a decline, as I reported, that we're seeing across Surrey.
I think the seasonal issue could affect quarter one comparisons, but probably
that's
not
right.
the whole year.
No, yeah. So it might be, yeah. So as I said, we've had a decline also this quarter as well. Yeah.
But presumably no particular drop in those subscribing to garden waste.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's something we're having a look at the moment, so I don't have an exact answer for you there right now. So yeah, possibly, subscriptions may have fallen, but that's one to investigate, one we're looking at currently. But as I said, if the subscriptions had dropped, you'd then expect residents to perhaps take their garden waste to CLCs, and that's not happening. The data isn't showing that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think certainly in Umbridge we haven't had a particular reduction in our subscribers to garden waste. So I don't think that explains it there.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Ian, did you want to come back specifically on that point?
It was, yes, thank you, Chair. I do believe this is weather dependent.
Yeah.
In terms of this, with it being so dry. The last time I think this happened was 2020 with the really hot summer we had there as well. So we have noted recently with the introduction of the rain, it has increased the weights on the garden waste. So it's definitely to do with the weather on that.
Right. Okay. Yep. Thank you. Rosemary.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick. Two general questions. One is on DMR, and it's a similar question really. Whether there's any explanation for the reduction. For example, I know a lot of manufacturers are reducing the packaging because of the, what it's going to cost them. But you then wonder why the residual's going down as well. Have we got any explanation there?
Okay.
I have got another question, but that was the first one.
Yeah, okay, we'll start with the first one. So yeah, DMR, I mean, this is something that's being seen nationally, so it's not an issue that is just a Surrey issue, so it's something that we're seeing sort of nationally. I think with that, for obviously what we're doing, I think performance will obviously stagnate if you're not changing. So obviously with simpler recycling coming in, the legislation is asking us to obviously sort of collect more. So that will, give a bit of an increase, not a huge increase, but a bit of an increase to sort of dry mix recycling. So yeah, I think a bit of stagnation is probably partly why, maybe a bit of loss of confidence in the system from residents perhaps, in terms of them believing whether it's going to get recycled or not. And then obviously looking at the markets as well, tracking those to see what can obviously then be recycled. So probably a bit of a mixture of that really, but as I said, simpler recycling and all of the other measures in the collection and packaging reforms were designed to give recycling a bit of a restart, really, a bit of a charge. So yeah, that would be my answer to that. I didn't know if you wanted to ask your next question now.
Yes. Thank you. And well, it's a disappointment if there is a loss of confidence. That's something perhaps we should all be trying to address. The other question is directly related to Mole Valley, and it's KPI 4. Now, it was the pack we had with the agenda has the graphs, and it was just the scale, because I think in your text it said repeated miscollections, I think the average was 12 per month, but on the graph there's March 2025 shows 130, so I just didn't follow that. Okay,
so KPI 4, we said, so just looking at KPI 4, so 2 for April, 11 for May, and 24 for June. And I think in the report we've said an average of 12 per month.
Perhaps I was looking at the wrong, because March showed 130. So I thought,
yes, March we've got 129.
Okay, so that wasn't
920. So obviously the average for quarter 4, so January to March, would have been higher than the 12 in the report for quarter 1.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ellen.
Thank you. Apologies for the background noise. I'm in a garage getting a battery change on my car, so I'll talk quickly.
Right.
Thank you for those figures. It's not a great picture for Woking. I absolutely understand the point about the garden waste and the garden. I didn't cut my grass at all this summer, so I can understand that point. I am concerned, though, about the recycling rates for Woking. They're very low, and they're looking as though they're going to fall below the government's target. I think that really is something to worry about, and what can we actually do about this, I think, is really my question. And we also talked previously about Amy doing some route optimization in Woking, and I wondered where we were with that and whether that might tie in with the kind of recycling rates. Maybe the route optimization might help to increase rates. It's not a great picture for Woking, though, overall, garden waste aside. So it is a bit of a worry and a concern.
I know we're doing some work with Woking to sort of investigate the position more, to see, looking at it at a more sort of detailed level, to see sort of where we might be able to make some improvements. I know Kelly you've been looking at this quite closely with Sarah Beck, our operations manager. I didn't know. I know your voice is struggling this morning.
That's okay. I've got a throat sweet in at the moment. We might be all right in a minute.
Sort of come in at this point. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. So we have, and Mark's been involved as well, and I think Aldonna's been involved too. So essentially what we've been trying to do is do a deep dive into the data to really try and uncover and work out where the drops might be happening. I think one of the areas that we've looked at the moment is communal properties. That's obviously not yielding much in terms of recycling. So what we're now doing is picking up with the depot team so that we can do some joint working to have a look at how can we improve things in communal properties. But at the same time, they're also continuing to look at the data to see if there's other rounds or other areas where we're experiencing perhaps high levels of contamination, where things are having to then be tipped as residual and not as recycling. So there doesn't seem to be kind of a big bang approach, if that makes sense. There's not an obvious answer in terms of why, it's that different. It does seem to be areas and pockets that we need to be picking up. So there was an issue about a year ago, I think it was a super narrow round, and we made some corrections on that round and that picked things back up. And so now, like I say, we're looking at the communal properties. But it's going to be kind of a slow burn to try and uncover all the different issues.
Yeah, that comes back on my question there. I was going to ask when we might have that data back, and some idea of where those communal properties, the ones that are causing possible issues. Any ideas on timing?
Yeah, so Sarah has produced an initial report that I think has been shared with Aldonna, but I will double check that.
Yeah.
If not, we'll get it out to you, because there is a report that's ready to go. Yeah. That has the kind of raw data that we're drawing on, but there is, like I say, some more detailed work that we need to do, and we need to actually visit some of the sites to get, on the ground knowledge as to what's actually happening.
Okay, Ian, do you want to come in there?
Yeah, just to stress what Kelly said. I know there was conversations being had yesterday with Aldonna and Sarah and a member of my team as well. So we are progressing that. In terms of the route optimization, we're very close at Woking of streamlining. There'll be no day changes. It's just different vehicles are picking up different areas. So I don't know whether that will improve the recycling rate, but it will improve the efficiency of the vehicles and the timings, I think, slightly. So that's all I can say on the route optimization at Woking at the moment.
Okay, thanks. Can I? Oh, yes, Mark, you've raised your hand.
You're on mute, Mark.
Sorry, we can't hear you, Mark.
Sorry about that. Just in terms of the government's target, 55%, I'm old enough to remember the 2006 target where it came with some potential financial implications. That's not the case as I understand it for this current one, but is that, I just wanted to check that's the position.
Yeah, that's correct, Mark. It's something that they do in Wales. So the sort of Welsh authorities have targets to meet, and if they don't, they get penalised. But that's not the position in England.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Nick. And
I don't know if there's any plans to maybe sort of follow what Wales are doing, but I haven't heard anything to that effect.
Okay. And I suppose the other, I'll wait to get the report back, but I guess the question I've got is, I understand across the country recycling rates have reduced.
Yes.
And the highest performers don't recycle 66% anymore. But to still trip into the top 10 performers in the UK, you still have to be hitting the 61% or above. So that's remained pretty constant throughout this.
Yeah.
However, I appreciate who's in that top 10 can change. So just in terms of our total tonnage, it's interesting to understand whether that's shifted, because if DMR is down and garden waste is down, is that the case that refuse has reduced or stayed the same or increased? And is there a correlation? Is there some sort of future plan about composition analysis or any recent data that we can use just to try and tease out some of that understanding, because it's gone from one bin into another bin. That's bad. If it's disappeared and no longer exists because glass packaging is now lighter or whatever it might be, then that's a different story, isn't it? So if we got that sort of analysis that we can look into.
Do you want me to come in, Nick?
Yeah, well, you can start and then happy to come in.
Yeah. So some of the analysis that Sarah and Cavan and the team have been doing has been looking at kind of comparisons across the joint contract authorities and across Surrey. What it does show is that the Woking trends are following the same trends that the other authorities are doing as well. So it's not that Woking is an outlier in that respect. It's doing exactly what everywhere else is doing. It's just that there seems to be a bit more of an impact, which we think, like I say, is partially related to the communal property side of things. Everybody has seen an increase in residual waste, and that residual waste doesn't seem to be coming back down as fast as we would like it to. Whereas on the recycling side of things, you know, again, we're not seeing that kind of go up as much as we'd like it to, because a lot of stuff is being lightweighted. So the material, volume in material is still there, but weight of material isn't necessarily as it was. What the next step of analysis that I want to do is breaking down the recycling rate into what is dry mixed recycling and what is garden waste. Because obviously for areas where there's lots of greenery, the garden waste is playing a huge impact in increasing the recycling rates. And could that mean that actually we could do more on the recycling side of things, because we're not recovering as much in those areas as perhaps we could be, to help try and get the recycling rates up? So I want to do that analysis across Surrey to have a look at what proportions of the recycling rates are garden waste and what is DMR, and see if there's anything in that, excuse me, my voice keeps going, see if there's anything in that we can then look at picking up on next.
Yeah. And I think it's fair to say when you look at the top performers in the country, typically they'll have some sort of policy in place for residual waste restriction. So whether that's reducing the frequency of collection or reducing the bin size or both, typically the top performers do that sort of thing. And obviously at the moment in Surrey, mainly we have, you know, obviously the bin size vary, but obviously we're picking it up fortnightly.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for that. And Nick, thank you. That last point is really important, isn't it? Because what we're trying to do is extract the maximum value out of the current service, but it has a limitation. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Kelly, I don't quite understand your link between garden waste and recycling. Are you saying that garden waste is counted as recycling?
Yes. So when you have your total recycling rate, that is made up of reuse, recycling and garden waste composting. Right. So the 50% that each of you has got is a combination of those three. So if a large proportion of that rate is your garden waste, then obviously if you have a particularly dry summer where there isn't much greenery to take away, then that significantly impacts your recycling rate.
Yeah, thank you. I never realised that was included.
Yeah,
that's quite useful. Can I come back to a couple of specific Elmbridge questions, which are for Ian, but I don't want to preempt Ian what you might be saying later. But two significant issues in Elmbridge. One was this massive spike in missed collections. So KPI 3 went up to 249 in April, 290 in May, and I know that very well from messages that I got in my inbox about missed collections. And the second issue is the detritus survey. So we're still exceeding 8% and have done for the entire year. And that is another big issue, and it's linked to the street cleaning stats as well, which is KPI 11. Can I say, first of all, what was the major issue that led to that massive spike in April and May, and has it been resolved, or will it? Are we likely to see that coming up again?
It has been resolved. We've identified there was an issue. I have got it in my slides as well as that. So yeah, it was just something that they weren't doing correctly. We asked them to do it a different way. Can't say it wasn't done correctly. it was done, but we've asked them to do it how the other 3 depots do it. It took some adjustment from the crews to do that, which was that spike. That spike has now come down, which you'll see in the slides that I've got, and so that's been addressed.
Okay.
In terms of the detritus, I was just trying to find out the latest one from this month, because it has.
Right, can I jump in, because the results were confirmed late last night by
David they
from
were
Elmbridge.
confirmed late last night, and they have come down, haven't they,
The
Joe?
detritus score has come down from the survey.
So
this
we've
time,
addressed both of them. So yeah, we identified there was an issue on the street. So we've addressed both of them.
So you think it's moving in the right direction?
It is.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
It's remained stubbornly high in terms of
Yeah.
you know, the last year's
Yeah.
performance. Okay,
So,
but all right, so we'll cover a little bit more of that then.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the latest detritus results are not in my thing, but I can tell you it's below 5%.
Right. Oh yeah. Okay. So quite
Yeah.
significant improvement. Lovely.
Yeah.
Okay. And Rosemary.
Just on that point, Ian, it's a problem in Mole Valley as well. You know, the high detritus. Is that being addressed?
It's been addressed, and they've had a very good month. This month, it's consistently come down over the quarter. Bear with me 2 seconds. I just wanted to.
Oh, I will circulate the lithium detritus scores from Q3 ASAP after this meeting.
Yeah,
but yeah,
so just to let you know,
all 3
Councillor
areas were
Marks.
under 5%.
Yeah,
on the measures
Mole Valley
this
are
time.
under 4% for last month.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Oh, Ellen, your hand is up.
It is indeed. It's a question, actually, and I don't have the answer for it, hence me putting it out there. I just wondered if the black bin waste is going down because there is more fly tipping around, or is that just an impression I've had? Because we've had a number of incidents in Woking, and obviously you all kind of manage the fly tipping and the street cleaning contracts, whereas we have ours in-house. I don't know, it's just a question. I just wondered if that was impacting at all or not.
I don't think it's related at all. I'm looking to Nick and Joe to see if they make any different moves, but I don't think it's related at all. I think, like I say, the residual waste increased because of COVID and people being at home, and it's slowly coming back down. It's not back down to pre-COVID levels just yet. It's not far off, but it's yeah, it's like I say, it's coming down slowly, but not at the rate we would have liked to have seen. But it's not that it's appearing as fly tipping anywhere else. Fly tip levels have been fairly standard across the patch. We always get peaks in some areas, you know, as the offenders move around and do different things. But we're not seeing anything that would, you know, significantly correlate to the residual waste tonnages.
I suppose coming back on that, actually, and you make a good point about the kind of the pre-COVID, there is a lot of hybrid working now. So is it realistic to expect it to come back down to pre-COVID levels, bearing in mind there are so many people who have got that kind of flexible hybrid working? I don't know, it's a question.
Yeah, no, and it's a very valid point. I mean, I think in reality, it's probably not a realistic expectation, but what we would like to see is people putting more into the recycling bins or preventing more waste by perhaps not using or purchasing some of the convenience items that you purchase when you're on the go. So I think, you know, it's more about trying to influence residents' behaviours about their buying habits and then about how they actually dispose of those items at end of life.
Yeah.
Just on the fly tipping point as well. I mean, fly tipping is usually sort of committed by, you know, unlicensed operators, people that are undercutting legitimate companies. So they're typically the ones that will be responsible for fly tipping. So not obviously you might still get some householder fly tipping, maybe not on purpose, or maybe so, but it tends to be that group that's are responsible for fly tipping in the main.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Leanne.
Thank you. So fly tipping's just triggered another thought in my mind. I think in Surrey Heath we also had a bit of a spike of fly tipping. And I appreciate it's not in the data yet, but have we got any anecdotal information about the impact that the booking system in the Surrey Heath CRC has had on usage of that and in the impact on waste collection?
Well, we looked at, I haven't looked at the booking system, but we looked recently at the closure of Bagshot CRC to see if that had had any impact on fly tipping tonnages, and so far we haven't seen that. But I haven't seen the incident data yet because our department isn't responsible for that. So that's something to sort of look at. So yeah, we'll have to, once we've got the full suite of data available, that's something we can look at and report back to you, Councillor.
Thank you. Yeah, but you're really interesting because obviously we've just started, in fact, Sue might have to remind me exactly when we started the booking system. Was it the end of August, beginning of September, something like that? I have the months wrong slightly. But
Camberley CRC, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, it just it certainly seems, when I've been quite a few times, it certainly seems less busy than it was, but that might just be my impression. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we can speak to the county council to see, you know, what visitors have been like in that period compared to sort of the same period previous years, to see if there's anything in that as well.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Joe, you're coming in there.
Yeah, just on that point, I was going to say, I think we'll be able to get some insights from the access to data that we have about whether, you know, tonnage delivery has changed, but we don't have the same sort of level of information about visitor numbers, etc., that the county would have. So I think, you know, you need that full picture to really understand the impact of the booking system. Very interesting to get that feedback, because I guess there's a potential for it to be rolled out elsewhere if they see it as a benefit. So be useful to understand that for us as well.
Yeah. Okay, good. Right, if there are no more questions for Nick's report, we'll move on then. So item number 5 is the AME improvement plan. Over to you, Ian.
Yeah, I've got a few slides just to show you. Bear with me. Let me just put that onto presentation. Okay, and then I lose you. So, right. Just a few key headlines. Moving on from Elmbridge. Several challenges at Elmbridge due to a long-term sickness of the site manager. So we've had to put temporary people into the position there over the last few months. We identified some issues which we've addressed, and you'll see the improving picture in the slides later in this pack. The Mole Valley workshop floor was identified as a health and safety risk. So we took the option, we closed the workshop on the 1st of July, which affected the service at Mole Valley significantly. The work has started there. It started this week. So we've got the floor coming up and a new floor going down. We're anticipating that work at the moment from start to finish to take 2 months on there at the moment. And obviously we've got our fortnightly meetings with JWS where we talk about issues, which is really productive and moves things forward for us. In terms of health and safety across the contract, from the 1st of March until the end of July, we've had 3 significant incidents, 2 lost time and 1 that turned into a RIDDOR, where the gentleman was unloading a mattress from a flatbed vehicle and slipped and fell onto a sofa, which he'd already unloaded, and hurt his side there. So that was reported as we should do. Trips are our main accidents at the moment that we're working on, especially with the colder weather coming in. We're stressing that to the guys. You know, be sure about your footing, make sure you've got the appropriate footwear on. and hoping we can alleviate most of them slips, trips and falls. And the moving object one, I'm trying to think what that was. That may have been the Uber driver, not Uber, Go Eats scooter that hit one of our operatives when they were trying to take the bin back to the resident's property, and they come around the corner. And yeah, so no time off for that, just a day off. I think that was lost time there. So in moving on to the KPIs here, so you can see this, and these are unchallenged KPIs that you've got in the first graph. Woking, really good, steady performance. That, you know, they're challenging Surrey Heath for the #1 depot there, and them two are working really well. So Elmbridge, it was identified the service on the streets was not being fully deployed consistently, the resources being used on the frontline services. So we've rejigged their service plan, which has shown a real positive impact on the street service. Hence the new LAD surveys, which were done, only finished on Tuesday this week, and the results are to be published, but a positive result there. And you can see we've brought down the slide there. The big spike that you see on the orange is Mole Valley, and that is due to the closure of the workshop. So it impacted vastly the ability to have vehicles available consistently, the length of time it was taking us to service the vehicles, because they've had to go to third parties to be serviced, with the workshop being closed and unable to work in there. You can see the streets have improved at Mole Valley, and that's shown in the LAD survey for this month. And now we have a consistent approach where we didn't have that consistent approach before on the surveys across the patch, because we've now had meetings with our colleagues at JWS over how they conduct the surveys and that. So that's the picture, an improving picture, which I'm pleased with, apart from this situation we have at Mole Valley with the floor at the moment. That is still ongoing. So we've got it under more control than we had at the beginning, but it's still causing us issues on a daily basis when vehicles break down and they have to be taken to a different workshop or serviced by a third party when we can't do it in-house, which slows down the ability to get them back on the road as quickly as we were previous. So I'm open to questions.
Okay, thanks very much, Ian. Yeah, my question is looking to the future. When well, it's actually current. We're into the leafing season. In fact, actually, for several weeks now, we've had lots of leaves, acorns scattered around, collecting in the gutters. Are you now, based on the back of your latest improvement to detritus, have you got the resources, both in vehicles and manpower, to cope with the leafing season over the next, I think it's normally about 12-week peak period?
Yeah, vehicles were delivered this week. Personnel are in position this week as well. Mole Valley have been deploying from yesterday. We're expecting Surrey Heath to deploy fully from Monday. And I was planning on the full deployment from Monday at all sites. So from Monday next week for 12 weeks, yes, we will be deploying additional sweepers for leafing season. Everything is in place for that.
Right. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Now, I'm not too sure who put a hand up next. Joe, did you have a comment about that before we go to the councillors?
I think I was last to the party, so I'm not sure I feel comfortable jumping the queue, but it was really, I will pick up what it was to that leafing point. Ian, if possible, please can you share the outline of what the resourcing is for those 12 weeks? It's something we've asked to have confirmation, and then I can share it with members and officers accordingly in the authorities, just so we can be clear on what the expectations are there and understand what the plan is, it would be really helpful to have that shared in writing. Thank you.
Yeah, I can get that.
That was all I was going to ask. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. No. Good point. Thanks, Joe. I'm not so sure who was next. Should we come to Rosemary? Only because you were at the top.
Well, it's Ellen.
Oh, Ellen.
It's Ellen next.
Okay. Thanks.
I was quick off the trigger finger. There was previous mention of trialling an electric vehicle tipper. I just wondered where that got to, what the plans were. I think that's more for the kind of other boroughs and their street cleaning. That was mentioned earlier. And then just jumping back to the previous conversation, I forgot to ask, where are we with the garden waste ICT issues for Woking? Because obviously we had some issues there.
So in terms of I think there's conversations ongoing about the IT issues with the garden waste. I do believe there is a meeting this week. I can't confirm that at the moment, but I'm not involved in that meeting, but I will have the outcome of that. In terms of electric vehicles, Amy, we electrify as much as we possibly can. In terms of the contract, it's difficult to bring a larger vehicle in that's electric. We don't have the facilities for charging on site as much. And I'm not sure there is one out there that's capable of doing what we want it to do at the moment in terms of the distance it needs to cover. So if we were the central London area, then yes, I would love to bring it in. But yeah, it's just something that hasn't hit my radar at the moment.
Is that okay, Ellen? Did you want any backup questions on that? No. Okay. Well, we go to Rosemary next for your question.
Thank you, Ian. Yes, I appreciate the problems associated with the workshop floor, but my understanding is the street cleaning vehicles are parked at Pitbrook, not at the depot. So I'm not quite sure why they're why they were so severely affected in relation to the detritus. I thought it was more to do with stuffing.
No, in terms of if vehicle breakdowns so we can't get them repaired in-house when they're not at the workshop. So they're only parked at Pitbrook overnight so that it leaves space because of the construction area within the site. That's the only reason why they're there.
Okay.
So, you know, Mole Valley have been deploying most of their street workforce and vehicles most of the time. There has been the odd occasion when we've only had, maybe one sweeper less out. So we've seen an improvement on the streets from that.
Okay, there's certainly an improvement from when it was really dire, but yes. My understanding is there are still issues in that area. So obviously it's going to show up now with the de-leafing. So I'm looking forward to an improvement there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Joe was next.
Yes, was just a question for Ian on that meeting regarding the garden waste IT. I don't think that's something myself or Sarah involved in. So is that an internal IT discussion?
It's Lynn and Mark are in conversations.
Okay, brilliant. Then hopefully that will, once you've had a chance to be updated, then post some more on that. Just on Rosemary's point regarding streets, I mean, yes, you've said that the staffing issues have been addressed, but I think, today we haven't got the full complement of sweepers out in Mole Valley. So I think, the crew board this morning's got a gap on the medium mech with no driver available, although the vehicle is. So I do think there are still some gaps we're seeing on a day-to-day basis there. And we did have some questions on deployment yesterday because there were two crews allegedly out in the same vehicle, so we weren't convinced that they both were on the road. So I appreciate there's been efforts made, but I don't know that it is sort of fully staffed consistently at the moment still from what we see.
Oh yeah, I'll address what you've just said, Joe, and ask that question. But the KPIs are not showing that, they're coming down. So.
Okay. Emma, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Chair. Ian, we can sort of pick up the workshop floor discussions offline, but given many of the street cleaning vehicles are relatively recently acquired and the RCVs again are not particularly old in Mill Valley, looking at sort of the purchase history, is there anything that collectively we can do to kind of improve reliability? Because it just seems it's worrying in a relatively new fleet. It seems to be a major contributing factor to RAS not completing when they should do, and sort of the KPI impact associated with that. It's obviously not good for your business, but it's not good for our residents. So, just is there a root cause analysis that's being done and things that can be put in place to help improve reliability? Genuinely interested in your views on that.
So yeah, might be fairly simple to answer actually, Emma. The newer the fleet, the less we can do on them initially because they are under warranty. So they have to go back to the manufacturer or the managing agent on that. Our guys can do minor repairs, light bulbs, bits and pieces like that. But if there's anything major, it would have to go off to the third party. So that's an issue with if you have a brand new fleet to start with. I would be honest and say the fleet is aging. Most RCVs 5-year lifespan on them, so most of the fleet is over 5 years old on that. So there's a reason there, and the ability for the workshop to work in a safe environment in Mole Valley. It may be they could have just nipped it back to Mole Valley and it would have taken 20 minutes. We now have to take it to either Elmbridge or Surrey Heath just to do minor repairs on them to do that. Prolongs the time it's off the road. So
perhaps we can do a bit more of a deep dive, not get post this and really try and understand where those pinch points are, because I think that possibly there's other things that we could do, but let's take it offline.
Yep, good idea. Okay, and Mark.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, sorry, Ian, just to labour on the garden waste matter. Obviously, it's been going on for a period of time now. The meeting this week, sorry, you mentioned, who's that with? Is that with Amy and Whitespace?
Yes.
Right, okay. And appreciate you've not been part of that, but dealing with it as a priority, where do we think we are as part of that process? Because it's, as I say, we're October now, and I think we flagged it February time.
Yeah, I can't answer that at the moment, Mark, but I'll try and find out as much detail as possible.
Can we? Because obviously we've had this conversation on a running basis now, and it feels like as a priority, I still don't know where we are with it. Yeah,
I think we've struggled to get hold of the Whitespace guy. I don't know whether he's been off, but I do know that's been an issue. So, yeah.
Okay, and there's just one lead at Whitespace that we deal with.
I'm not up to speed with Whitespace,
okay.
So I will. I'll find out that. But yeah, we do struggle with a lot of things with Whitespace. I will be honest.
Okay, when is that meeting? Did you say? Sorry.
I believe it's either later this afternoon or tomorrow morning. So
okay, so we're likely. And Joe, is joint waste involved in that meeting, or is it just no? It's not. Would that make sense, or is what?
So when we last met with Amy, it was Lynn and Matt Morgan from their IT team, and one of the questions, part of the question they were taking away was whether there were sort of mechanisms within their agreement with Whitespace to make some changes. So, if that's between Amy as the client and Whitespace as the supplier, I'm not necessarily uncomfortable that we're not involved directly in those discussions because that's a relationship between those two parties. But, we have been clear that, there are elements of, what the options are to fix that issue that we want to understand, and whether that's an automated solution or sort of the manual checks, that back office checks that are happening now to pick up on any problem accounts and fix them. So I'm comfortable if that is a sort of contract discussion meeting that's going on between client and service provider, as long as we can sort of maintain getting the feedback on what the next steps are and what's been discussed.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Ian.
Okay, good. So yeah, thanks very much, Ian. Let's move on then. Item number 6, Joint Waste Solutions Work Programme update. Is that you, Jo?
That one's me.
Yep, okay.
So thank you. Yes. So the report that's contained within the agenda pack, which is prepared by Nick with contribution from myself, other members of the ops team and colleagues around JWS, gives you an update on delivery of the joint contract work programme for this year, and covers the period from April through to sort of mid-August, early September in some cases. The work programme, which was approved by the committee in March, sets out 7 objectives which focus on improving service delivery, reducing waste, improving recycling quality, and preparing strategically for the next joint contract. So since April, we've made good progress on a number of fronts. I think some of the highlights would include improvements to collection services at a range of developments. This is where the team are visiting either new developments which are coming online and becoming occupied, or looking at how we can improve services at existing developments. We've also secured Keep Britain Tidy funding to deliver chewing gum removal interventions too. That cleaning work has now commenced, and cleaning in Camberley and Dorking has been undertaken so far, with Cobham and Esher and Elmbridge to follow. We've undertaken proactive communications with residents during service changes, such as during the summer when we experienced those heat waves, and were able to advise residents that the crews would be starting slightly earlier to try and avoid working during the hottest parts of the day. Alongside that, we've continued to use our digital channels to engage and support the communities that we serve. We've kept momentum on the future planning, with the procurement strategy progressing on track. The PSQ went live in August, and the invitations to tender remain on course. We have initial interest submitted, and we'll be moving on to dialogue sessions with the eligible bidders in October. In addition to that, statutory requirements are being met under the new simpler recycling rules, with compliance achieved or close to completion in all areas. The report does give a full breakdown of progress against every one of the objectives in the programme, but I'd say the overall delivery is on track and generating positive outcomes. The recommendation is that the committee note the report, but I'd be really happy to answer any questions or bring my colleagues into any questions which I might need their assistance on if you have them, so please do ask.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. I mean, just a couple of comments from me. Yeah, very pleased that we got that Keep Britain Tidy funding, which I know is going to fund a couple of streets or a couple of areas in Elmbridge over the next few weeks. So that's always well received. I was pleased with the comms that went out on earlier collections because of the heat wave, and I didn't receive any complaints about those earlier collections. So I think that worked well. So yeah, thanks very much. Oh, I did have a question last time, which I still don't know the answer to, which is, it is more of this gap that we haven't had any SEP meetings for the last almost a year. I don't know where we stand with the Rethink Waste programme and whether that's going to continue. Have you got any ideas on that?
I can come in, Jo. No problem. I don't know about Rethink Waste, in truth. We are engaging SEC on this topic, asking them whether it will form part of their work programme that they're shaping for this year. So I've been told that the work programme will be shared on the 20th of October, so 18 days away. So as soon as I have that sort of insight, I can sort of let you know what forms part of that sort of programme and what they're planning to do in terms of engaging members on it. I mean, we sort of gave a lot of feedback in the summer to some of their draft proposals, and within that we felt there was a lack of member engagement in there. And I mean, I know you haven't had a meeting for some time now, so that won't come as a surprise. So yeah, so in short, looking to get the work programme within the next couple of weeks. And obviously we'll share that once we have it and what their plans are for engaging members as part of the programme, and also for specific initiatives like Rethink Waste. But yeah, at the moment I don't have that knowledge, unfortunately. I have asked the question though.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Nick. Any other questions or points on that? No. You make a point about simpler recycling. We have had some emails about whether Tetra Pak type cartons are going to be collected from March next year, and we had an answer through via Ellen on Surrey County Council's standpoint on cartons. I mean, do we know whether they are going to actually be separated out at the MRFs from next March, April, so that they can be properly recycled rather than just stuck into into the burnable waste skip?
Yeah, I mean, we've asked that question to Surrey County Council. So yeah, are we going to be sort of ready to collect them by March next year? And what do we need to do at the curbside? So do they need to be separately collected, or can they be mixed in with the commingled dry? So my understanding, and I don't know this for sure, is that they will be sort of, I think their plan is to mix them in with the rest of the dry recycling. Obviously, we aren't party to the sort of contracts they have with the MRFs, and specifically, obviously, Grundon being an example of that. So yeah, I'm not sure if the MRFs themselves have to do any sort of upgrades. I mean, when you look at cartons, some MRFs, I'm just speaking nationally now, might need upgrades to equipment like optical sorters and a bit more storage to sort of handle the cartons. And sometimes if you don't make those changes, especially with the optical sorters, they can get missed, or they can end up in another stream, and they end up contaminating that stream, and they end up downgrading that stream when they go to sort of resell it. So yeah, I don't know what the position is with the MRFs, but we've asked that question. And then I think obviously there needs to be an economical sort of case to sort of collect them as well, because I don't think it is going to generate a huge tonnage in truth. So there needs to be a financial case to be able to obviously sort of collect them, bulk them, and transport them up to the one facility that can reprocess them, and that's, as you know, ACE UK funded one in Halifax. So obviously, you know, with the distance between here and Halifax is quite considerable, so you need to obviously make that as cost effective as possible in terms of transporting all those cartons up. And as you know, with that facility, I mean, we've been told by the county council, and I think this probably might be in your email responses as well, that they're not quite there with a process yet that fully recycles the carton. So the sort of obviously being a composite material, the paper board element gets recycled, but the plastic aluminium mix that comes out of the process, that often gets baled and sent for energy recovery. So yeah, I think that's where we are at the moment. We've asked the question. We're keen to sort of get it in. We've got a real good opportunity to tell residents about it as part of the service guides as well. So the sooner we can do it, the better, from our perspective, because those service guides, as you know, will obviously be going out sort of later this year, December, January, and that would be a good time to try and be in a position to collect cartons as well.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Nick.
All right.
Yeah, it'd be useful to find out what exactly the situation is going to be come March, April, particularly as the bring banks that I managed to arrange to get in Elmbridge are going to go, because ACE UK assume that they're going to be collected and processed.
Yeah, that is frustrating. Yeah, I can understand the rationale for doing it, but perhaps they shouldn't have gone as soon as they have. So yeah, but I can understand if there is going to be a requirement from in legislation to collect them from the curbside, as you say, from the 1st of April next year. But yeah, just in that void at the moment, it would be helpful to sort of have the banks up until that, obviously, the date, either that date or when we absolutely know we will be collecting.
Yeah. Yes, I know that the stock answer, which is given by Surrey County Council, is from Richard Parkinson, and he and I have had discussions about this
Of course,
for years.
Yeah, for
and
a
he's
long
actually
time.
he's always very negative about collecting and recycling cartons. But in fact, actually, it's something like sort of between 80 and 85%, I think, is now recyclable. Which is not an insignificant amount of stuff that is properly recycled.
Yes, of course.
And this idea that he keeps coming up with is, oh, we've got to try and get manufacturers to move to different forms of packaging, I think is completely ridiculous. That they are popular for packaging because there are no void spaces, given the shape of the cartons. They're light. They're made of recyclable material in the first place. Because they come from sustainable wood pulp, etc., etc. So you know they're not going to go away. They're probably going to proliferate even more over the next few years. So I think it is important that we try and make sure that we do separate out the cartons. And I understand that ACE UK will actually pay a fixed sum to the MRFs to collect them and transport them up to Halifax.
So that will help with the economic case.
So we do need to try and bottom that out, I think, with SCC before we take on their responsibilities. I mean, maybe that's the opportunity, because we have to wait until we've got local government reorganisation and we can do the job properly. Anyway,
but ultimately, you know, it's got to be done by the deadline, and that's fast approaching.
I just hate to think of them being collected because that's the government instruction. But then for them to just to be simply burnt instead of properly recycled.
If that happens, simpler recycling has failed, then, hasn't it? In its mission, because this is a big opportunity to go out with a big bang and say, right, you can recycle these, and you should have an uplift of all the other materials as well if you're going out widely with communication. So if they did that and then it was then found they got sent for incineration, that would be a massive own goal.
Okay. Ellen, do you want to come in?
No, it was just the point about kind of transporting up to Halifax, actually, because we always talk about it as being, the only centre that actually recycles these Tetra Paks in the UK, which it is. But actually, when you look across the ACE network across Europe, most countries only have one, possibly two centres. So I just wondered if we could kind of change our narrative a little bit, because we always talk about it as being a kind of negative, but actually we're no different from many other countries.
Well, that's true. But then obviously we've got different collection systems compared to those on the continent as well. So that needs to be factored in. But I accept your point, what you're saying.
Yes, apparently they actually go via a Cheltenham depot. So, the journey is not that long from this area to Cheltenham, and then they're collected and bulked up in Cheltenham to be sent to Halifax. And I also understand that actually on the continent they have found a way of properly recycling the residual aluminium and polypropylene. So they're working on installing that up in Halifax as well. So then they'll be 100% recyclable.
There you go.
Sorry, it's a bit of an issue which I've been following up for about 6 years.
You have, and
hopefully we'll get some resolution.
Hopefully you'll get confidence back very soon that the finish line is not too far off.
Okay, thanks very much. Right, so that was all based on Joe's presentation. And any other questions on the contract work programme? Nope. Okay. Well, good. Thank you very much. We now say goodbye to Ian and George as we go into sort of section 2 budget discussions. George.
Councillor Tilling.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, we actually need to have Ian and George for the first part of the private session, but not the second part.
Right. Oh, sorry.
Oh, nearly escaped there.
Sorry, George.
I did wonder, George, before we move on to that then, did you want to come in on any particular issues, seeing as you've been joining us for the last hour and a half?
No, I think Ian covered all of it, really. I think there's some stuff that we need to cover off. I think especially the you know, the Mo Valley workshop. I think Ian can cover off with Emma and Joe, etc. Because I think it's maybe difficult to comprehend the impact that has on the sort of day-to-day operations. But yeah, no, that's fine, you know. And I think you know, I think Ian and the team are doing a good job, you know, improving the service, you know. And I think you know, we'll continue to try and make it better going forward.
Okay, good. That's good to hear. Okay, thanks very much, George. Okay, so right, we're going to stay with the agenda. So